You are listening to Small Business Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives small business owners the straight talk on productivity, time management, business systems, leading your teams, strategic decision-making, and mindset. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the productivity specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Small Business Straight Talk podcast. Today is episode 330. If you don't do this one thing, no one will. If you're a small business owner who wants to learn effective business strategies, improve time management, and elevate productivity to maximize profit, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. Today, we're going to be diving into the topic of respecting your own time, because if you don't, no one else will. Before we jump into today's topic, I want to invite you to take my Next Level Business Owner quiz. Take 3 short minutes to head on over to amberdelagarza.com/quiz to take the quiz to find out what is most holding you back from taking your business to the next level. And then you'll receive a curated playlist that has episodes specifically for those challenges with strategies and solutions you can implement right away. Take 3 minutes and head on over to amberdelagarza.com/quiz to get your own personalized curated playlist. And now let's get to the straight talk. Unlike money, fame, fortune, friends, and success, there's no way to recover time once you lose it. And it's incredibly easy to lose. As Benjamin Franklin famously said, lost time is never found again. And Jim Rohn, one of my favorite quotes, said, time is our most valuable asset, yet we tend to waste it, kill it, and spend it rather than invest it. Steve Jobs said, it's really clear that the most precious resource we all have is time. All of these famous people spoke about time and highly regarded its precious nature because they knew its inherent value. Highly valuing their own time may be why Benjamin Franklin, Jim Rohn, and Steve Jobs were able to accomplish so much in their lifetime. Your time is precious. It's valuable. But it's only as valuable as the worth you assign to it. If you do not honor your time, no one else will. If you do not respect your time, no one else will. You must maintain a mindset that values your time and conveys its value to others by speaking, acting, and behaving in a manner that highlights how valuable your time is. I've got a question for you. Do you feel disrespected, frustrated, even enraged when others don't value your time? When they show up late, run over on a meeting, don't come prepared, no call, no show, call, text, or email after hours and expect a response? Interrupt you when you're in your deep, focused work zone? Take over your lunch or your breaks with questions of low importance? You can't force people to respect your time, but you can lead by example, both by respecting your own time and by respecting others' time. Like the saying goes, treat others as you would like to be treated. If you're not leading by example and valuing your own time, you lose the integrity of asking others to respect your time. If you don't value your time, why should they? You must convey your time boundaries. Be clear how and when you wish to be communicated with. Gentle nudging and passive-aggressive reminders don't work with everyone. Be direct. Be kind, but be direct and communicate your boundaries with your team, clients, vendors, and loved ones clearly. If you are frustrated with how others aren't respecting your time, look in the mirror and see what adjustments you can make on how you value your own time. Commit to doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Stop overcommitting. Saying no to yourself, saying no to others. Showing respect to yourself first so others follow suit. For example, one that comes up often in my client sessions is me asking a question about when they are feeling frustrated with team members interrupting them throughout the workday. I often ask, do you interrupt your team members throughout the day? Have you found that to be the standard? Where you walk into the room, come in from a client appointment, and start blurting out or asking questions or blurting out notes from the session and making interruptions? If that is how you're treating them with their time when they want to do their best work and be most efficient for you, how can they understand that now you want uninterrupted, focused work time? If you make an exception to your availability or extend the length of a scheduled meeting, I advise you to address that as an exception that you are happy to do at this time. So what this example here is that if you had scheduled a 30-minute call with a client and something came up where you knew that it's going to run over and you wanted to just finalize a few more details, instead of just running that meeting from 30 minutes to 45 or to an hour, I suggest pausing and addressing. Do you have the time? I would love to continue to wrap this up. I have the time. Do you have the time to continue with this meeting? If you have specific work hours where you don't take meetings on a Saturday or in an evening and you make an exception, I want you to voice that exception and say, as long as you wholeheartedly want to make this exception, I want you to say something like, I do not normally work on a Saturday, but I can see how this is an exception and I'm happy to do so. Or I'm happy to make an exception. Some phrase like that. But if you do not address that there is an exception, guess who's calling next Saturday? Guess what happens when you have this long-term commitment or relationship with a client and they're obviously going to be confused. They're going to be like, well, we met that last Saturday. We've talked on the phone in the evenings before. So clearly identifying what your boundaries are and when there's exceptions and committing to that will really help you command that respect for your time because you're showing respect not just for your own, but for their time. I'd like to jump into what not valuing your own time looks like, the impact. When you are not valuing your own time, oftentimes boundaries are being trampled. Clients are calling you at all times of the day. Vendors are swinging by without appointments and expecting to have FaceTime with you. Employees are interrupting you throughout the day with questions or just to let you know what happened over the weekend. Not valuing your time could look like not speaking up when others trample your boundaries, which allows it to happen again and again. And oftentimes, my clients express to me that over time, it really does build up resentment. If you're letting people trample over your boundaries and you're just keeping your mouth shut, what happens is that that relationship changes. It changes either with your team member or it changes with your client to where you're building up resentment and they may not even know why or understand or even know that there's any resentment because they're following your lead on how to interact with you. When you're not valuing your time, you're not showing up on time. So you're not showing up for yourself on time, right? So let's say you said you were going to get into the office at 9:00 and it's 9:30. Or how about not showing up on time for a client meeting or a presentation, not following the plans you created. This comes up a lot as my clients are practicing and implementing planning their days and their weeks. Creating the plan is only part of the equation. But when you underlyingly do not value your own time, you often will not follow the plans you created. Now, that's with a caveat. For those of you that have been around for a while, I know that no day goes as planned, but oftentimes there's a huge disconnect between planning our days and then showing up and actually attempting to follow that plan. When we tell ourselves, we have plenty of time, I'll do that tomorrow, and we start negotiating with ourselves because underlyingly, we're not valuing our time. And that also extends to not adhering to your own time blocks, where you set the intention of what you're going to specifically work on and at what time and for how long. When you have a challenge with valuing your time, you either blow right past that time block. So if you scheduled an hour, maybe you blow through and do 2 hours, or maybe you don't show up for that block of time at all. And how about this one? Not stopping your day when you said you would. So your goal was to be out of the office by 3 o'clock to pick up the kids, or perhaps it was by 5:30 so you can get to dinner with the family. Or perhaps you were going to leave at 4 o'clock and head to the gym. That was the plan, right? Well, when you're not valuing your time, that is just an arbitrary stop and you think it's negotiable. And so you blow right through that stopping time, which then affects how you're showing up in whatever else you've committed to. How about rationalizing and justifying why you're not valuing your time? So this could look or sound like, oh, I just don't feel great. I had a long day. I didn't sleep well last night. I ate too much. I ate too little. It's too late already. What's the hurry? I have plenty of time. I'm just throwing some out there. Now, with that being said, there are days that you truly don't feel well. And I am not by any means saying to ignore that. That is very real. But sometimes we're looking for those ways out of what we've committed to doing with our time. Scrolling social media endlessly, staying up late and not getting enough sleep. So sometimes I'm working with my clients not on a morning routine, but first on an evening routine, because you can set any type of morning routine you want, but really the morning routine starts the evening before. When are you committed to going to bed? Or are you scrolling social media? Or are you staying up on Netflix? Or are you getting your second wind and you're working, but that wasn't the plan? Your plan was to get in and start your day earlier in the office. How about pushing snooze in the morning, time after time? Sleeping in and then just starting work late. Sometimes this is something that's happening not as an exception, but on the regular. How about allowing personal responsibilities and distractions to creep into your workday? And this can be anywhere from personal distractions like you're working from home and the laundry is distracting you and letting that creep into your time, answering text messages or phone calls from family members or kids, or just saying yes to people that are asking of your time during a workday because they're like, oh, you own a business, surely you have the time. Of course you can help during the day. And I have found that if you don't honor that time of an actual workday, even if you are the business owner, there are a lot of outside influences that are happy to creep in and take that time. I take this into great thought and consideration with my son's schedule, what time I am committed to doing sports activities. I take this into consideration for doctor's appointments. So I try to push all my doctor's appointments to Fridays because I already take most Fridays off. Instead of just haphazardly throwing in a doctor's appointment throughout the week where I have already dedicated the rest of the days to an actual work day. I have some clients that struggle greatly with family members recognizing and honoring their time as a business owner. And so they're texting and they're like, hey, can you pick up the kids? Can you pick up the grandkids? Can you pick up lunch? I forgot my lunch. I get this call sometimes with my son. And it's like, no, you're going to eat hot lunch. I am at work, right? Of course, I want to be able to take him as lunch. But just because I can, right, because I'm the boss, doesn't mean that I'm willing to wreck my schedule or reschedule with a client. I truly have set those standards to treat my business and my business hours as a business. Not respecting your own time will definitely mean that you're not planning your day, you're not prioritizing, and perhaps you lack work-life balance. We just did a great episode on work-life balance. If you have not listened to that, go back and listen to that in the library. You may also just have this constant low grade or high grade anxiety. You're stressed and the thoughts of there's never enough time, or the feeling of being busy, like exhausted, busy, but you're not hitting your goals. And we did talk about this earlier, but it is on my list, just a frustration, resentment, anger with those who you work with, whether that's vendors, clients, team members. And nobody wants this list. I just went through a very long list of what it could look or feel like, the impact of not valuing your time. The goal here is for you to start valuing your time, setting those standards, because you know that your time, the old saying, time is money, that is very true. But also, time is what our loved ones need from us. Time is often what the business needs from us. And when we lack time or feel like we don't have enough time, what I can speak truth to is that we're often not showing up our best in any arena of our lives. We're not showing up our best in our relationships with our partners, with our children. We're not showing up our best with our own health. We're not showing up our best in our businesses or as a leader. Because when we mismanage our time and we don't have these boundaries and respect of our own time, it feels like everything is coming at us and you're much more reactive than proactive, which just in a nutshell is very stressful and not very joyful. How do you start valuing your own time? I'm going to go into some steps here that I highly recommend for you to start valuing your own time. And while I'm going to go through some steps with you, I really feel like from my heart to yours, I have to say, ultimately, this is a choice. This is a choice that you need to make, that from this point forward, you're going to start making decisions and interact with your own time in a way that shows self-love and self-respect. So, hold your time sacred. Now, once you've made this commitment that you are going to value your time more, I want you to think of your time as this limited resource that many of the people that I quoted earlier in this episode are saying in their own quotes about how absolutely valuable and precious time is. I want you to practice honoring commitments to yourself and your business. Show up when you say you're going to. Work on what you plan to work on. Go to bed when you need to. Create and hold business boundaries so others grow to value and respect your time. We have some great episodes that we'll link out in the show notes, and you can find the show notes over at amberdelagarza.com/330. And I have an entire episode that goes through the 3 steps to creating and holding and communicating business boundaries to other people. It's very simple, but it gives a lot of examples of what that can look like, how you can articulate that with your own personality and your own voice, and what to expect when you are creating these boundaries with other people. because essentially you are changing that relationship with others. But right now, I'm talking about changing that relationship with yourself. I'm not asking, you can hear the words that I'm choosing to use. I am not asking you to do a complete total overhaul of your time overnight. This is not a pass or fail. That would create more chaos. I'm encouraging you to start small and value your time in blocks of time. So right now, if your schedule is a complete chaos, or your schedule is completely reactive to what's in your inbox, who's calling you, who's texting you, what your team members need, what your clients need, then I want you to start with just 30 minutes a day that you are going to set intention around what it is you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and for how long you're going to do it. 30 minutes. Pick some high priority item off of your task list and practice showing up for yourself. And then expand that to 60 minutes or to a couple 90-minute sessions a week. I'm just giving you some examples, but if you're already holding your time valuable and doing what you say you're going to do, then start expanding those times and creating more of those times on your schedule. Another way to just ease into this is simply start with committing to what time you are committed to starting your workday. Or maybe for you, it's just committing to what time you'll end your day every day. I actually just had a client today that I was working with, and her commitment that we worked on was 30-minute lunch. So the lunch is scheduled, it gets blown through, there's other tasks, there's always a to-do list, there's always something to do, and the lunch is getting pushed out. Her energy is dropping in the afternoon, her focus, her irritability, it is affecting her, pushing right through her lunch break. And so one way for her to start this, respecting her own time, honoring her own boundaries, doing what she says she's going to do, is simply just starting with focusing on taking a 30-minute lunch. Now, I just gave you a lot of areas and examples of where you could start small and start stacking those wins upon each other. But like in my last example with my client about lunch, I'm going to ask you to consider where placing more value on your time will have the biggest impact. And I want you to start there. Then incrementally over time, but stay consistent, working towards the goal of valuing all of your time, all of the time. For the client that I just shared with you, this was most valuable to her joy of experiencing her business because she gets a lunch break, but also directly connected to her ability to focus because her energy level would be down. She would eat later in the afternoon. It would affect dinner. There was a lot of reasons why one small change, like committing to eating lunch for 30 minutes, would have a really big impact on multiple areas of her life. Small, consistent changes in how you value your time will have huge positive impacts on you and your business. Start respecting your time today and choose again each day to respect your own time, and others will soon follow. Your time is valuable, but only as valuable as the worth you assign to it. Make sure you value your time, or no one else will. Start operating in a way that says, everywhere I spend my time is an investment. I respect and value my time, and I expect you to respect and value my time as well. I have loved having you listen to this episode of Small Business Straight Talk. I sure hope you have found my conversation about valuing your time to be valuable. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. I gave you several different ideas and ways that you can get started. To start small, commit to being consistent and stacking upon those commitments with more and more time until you get to a place where it's just second nature that you operate from a mindset of valuing your own time. And you're operating with that mindset with the decisions you make, how you respect other people's time, how you show up, how you keep boundaries, how you say no. I shared with you some other episodes that I thought would be helpful, and I just wanted to recap those in the outro and let you know that you can find those over at amberdelagarza.com/podcast. We talked about episode 177, 3 steps to making business boundaries successful. I also wanted to share with you episode 254, Make It a November to Remember, where I share with you strategies on how to say no. And our most recent episode, 328, Creating a Schedule that Supports Your Ideal Work and Life Balance. If you are looking to get additional support, coaching, and accountability on valuing your time, creating strategies and a schedule that works for you, learning to say no, finding out where and how to set business boundaries, that is just the tip of the iceberg. But if you are looking for a business coach that can help you navigate through learning these skill sets to improve your time management, elevate your productivity so that you can reduce stress and increase profits, then I think we should talk. You can schedule a free discovery call over at amberdelagarza.com/call. And during that call, we'll just talk about the different ways there are to work with me, whether that's my private one-on-one coaching or my group coaching program, and to see if working together is the next right step for you and your business. I look forward to speaking with you soon. And today we have a special shout out going to Mike Rutger, who recently said on iTunes about the podcast. He said, a beneficial resource for any small business owner looking to sharpen their productivity and pick up management skills. Amber does a great job offering her listeners actionable advice through engaging and well-structured episodes, covering a range of topics from time management to team building. Great advice and great guests make this a cannot miss for anyone interested in improving in the area of productivity and or entrepreneurship. I thank you so much for leaving us a review, Mike, and I appreciate you listening to the podcast. If you are a longtime listener, I would love to hear from you. If you can leave us a review anywhere you are currently listening to this episode, I would love to hear from you. And if you are new here, I just want to say welcome. Thank you so much for showing up for you and your business. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss another episode. So that's my straight talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.